Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I am going to play the entirety of this video without any interruptions, and then I'll go back and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on, and talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. Without further ado, here we go. So even though you see video, no audio, that is normal until the camera activates. It's in buffer mode right now.
Hey, stay in the car! Stay in the car!
Nelson and Griggs.
1915, turn me some more cars.
1915, what's your location? What's your location?
How many cars you got going?
Everyone. Six in total.
Is this car still on Nelson and Greg?
It is.
1915. I'll just involved in shooting. I don't think Greg.
1915, 10-4, Nelson and Griggs. Starting medical.
I'm Nelson. Go to Griggs, I'm 10-4. Suspect's down.
Nelson.
423.
Nelson, north of Griggs, suspect down.
1920, I've seen it. 1610, where's your subject? The access to any weapons and which way you face? 1950, that's my taser.
Addressing one more. 1625, 10-4, addressing one more.
Hey, stay in the car! Stay in the car! Stay in the car! Get in the car! Dude, I'm stopping you. Do you have a license? Do you have a license?
For what?
I'm stopping you. Do you have a license?
What done?
Do you have a driver's license? Do you speak English?
Yes.
Can I see your license?
What does you want?
The plate doesn't belong on this car. Do you have a license or no? Do you have a driver's license?
Yes.
Where is it at?
It's in the car.
Get it for me.
What does you want?
The plate does not belong on this car.
Let me. Let me know my right there, okay? Right there.
No, no, no. Stop, stop. Put your hands right. Stop. 1915. Got one running. North, south. Stop. Stop.
Okay. Dang.
Stop! Stop!
Okay.
Get your hands behind your back!
Okay.
Hands behind your back!
Okay.
Get your hands behind your back!
Okay.
1950, start with more cars.
Okay.
Stop!
Okay.
Stop resisting!
I'm gonna do it to him.
Let go of the taser!
What's the problem?
Let go of the taser!
Let go of the taser. Let go of the taser. No! Let go of the taser! Let go of the taser! Stop the taser! Get back! Get behind your back!
Okay? Come on, bro. I can't doubt with your own safety, man. Okay?
Yeah, Pat, Jojo, you good. Like,
Put your
yo,
hands behind your back.
don't go him like that, though.
I know, but I'm just saying, man. I'm a black man too. I done.
Yeah.
Man, come on, man. You do the same.
1915. Start with some more cars.
Okay.
No, he said he's good, but man, yo, what's up,
I
man?
know. Just want nobody to get no work. Let me get the key.
Stop.
Okay.
Stop resisting.
Get the key.
No, he good. He not resisting nothing, bro.
Phone number or something or whatever you gotta do.
1915, what's your location?
Yo, come on, man. Get the key. Come on, man. Y'all don't, man. Come on, man. What did you do? Come on.
Okay, why you gotta do all that, bro? He good, man.
Let go of the taser. Let go of the taser.
No, like he good. Like you can talk to him, bro.
Ah!
Yeah, yeah. Like he good, bro. Like, can you talk to him like good? Like, can you? Yeah. Stop grabbing him like that.
No!
No, he good, like for real. Yo, you hit him too. Look at that shit, bro. Listen.
Let go of the taser!
No, he ain't got no taser. I see that.
Let go of the taser! Drop the taser!
Everyone.
Get back! Get back! 1915. I was just involved in a shooting. Nelson Griggs. I'm Nelson. With the Griggs on team 4.
Okay. So we'll go back into this. So the stop was for, I believe it was the registration plate that doesn't match the vehicle that was on the vehicle. Get out of the oops, wrong thing. All right, so this is not YouTube that I'm copying this off of. This is actually the comes from the agency's site. They have some stuff in a Dropbox, and it's not the easiest to navigate, really.
Stay in the car!
Okay, so he makes a stop, and this dude automatically gets out of the vehicle. You know, I guess like way back in the day, you know, this may have been a common thing for a driver to get out of the vehicle after they've been stopped. But for the last, you know, several decades, it's been trained to people, or not to train to people, but it's been taught to people, don't get out of your car during a traffic stop. And it's not something that is taught to law enforcement to entertain. Generally, it is get them back into the vehicle. Generally, because it's, if the person is going to think about running on foot, it can prevent them from running on foot. But it's also more of a safety thing, especially on the side of the road. You certainly don't want someone getting out of the car who's not really paying attention to the traffic very well, isn't very aware of traffic and its dangers. And when they're outside the vehicle and they get hit by another vehicle, that's traveling, it can be very catastrophic injuries, often resulting in death, and if not death, then very serious physical injuries. So it's really just the safest place for that motorist to be at during that traffic stop. And then your other reasonings can start to come into play, such as, if they're going to run off on foot, it helps limit them to be inside the vehicle. But obviously, if they're going to run, they'll just start the vehicle and take off. But the number one thing is just safety for them, and then also it's for officer safety. That way, if the person's in the vehicle and they want to be combative, it is going to have to be more steps they take to put hands on that officer versus if they're already out of the vehicle and they decide to become combative. It's easier for them to attack when they're able to stand right there and then go straight to the officer. If they're in their vehicle, it's a lot more difficult to do that. But like I said, overall, it's more or less it's for their safety, so they don't get hit by another car. I'll drop this volume some and hit play.
Get in the car. Dude, I'm stopping you. You have a license? Do you have a license?
For what?
I'm stopping you. Do you have a license?
What?
So the officer starts off with, I think, a pretty good string of verbal commands. He's issuing them in a tone that's loud enough for that guy to completely hear and understand what's going on. And it sounds a little bit authoritative. Obviously, the dude's stubborn and is not getting back in the vehicle. But as soon as he gets up on him and is right there in his face, then he softens his voice and becomes soft in his approach and demeanor. I think if he would have kept up that more authoritative stance, that there's a possibility maybe this guy could have obeyed and just got back in the vehicle. So, but that's, you never really know what a person's going to do. So he may not have gotten back in the vehicle. He may have just been completely stubborn. His body language and the way he responds to questions, you can tell that this guy is deceptive. So I think from the get-go, this guy was already thinking about running and trying to get away. I don't know any other information about this case. I don't have any other details. I have no idea if he was wanted for anything or anything like that, but you can tell just based off his body language and the way he responds to questions that he is being deceptive. Like there's something going on there. Normal people do not act like this.
Do you have a driver's license? Do you speak English?
Yes.
Can I see your license?
What do you want?
The plate doesn't belong on...
You could tell that he is trying to run through all kinds of stuff in his head. You can see the wheels turning, like, how am I going to get myself out of this one? Trying to think of the lies he can come up with.
In this car. Do you have a license or no? Do you have a driver's license?
Yes.
Where is it at?
It's in the car.
Get it for me.
What do you want?
The plate does not belong on this car.
Hey, man. Grab me my right right there. Right there.
I would try to... Well, I can't hit the arrow key to make it jump forward a few seconds, so... I have to let it play here.
No. Stop.
So he goes to start walking away. Now, he could have been innocent in his intentions. He could have just simply wanting to walk around the vehicle and go to the passenger side and look for himself. Or he could have been wanting to take off running and go wherever he thought about maybe going to if he was thinking about running.
Stop. Put your hands up. Stop.
And that right there, let's back it up. If I can get it to...
Stop.
So that right there was a pause. That was a moment in time that that officer, I think, could have chosen to close the gap and continue with his actions and overwhelm that guy. But instead, they kind of do this little deer in the headlight sort of stand there, frozen pose, looking at each other, and then this guy decides to start running. So like I said, I think that if the officer would have just kept pressing and been on it and been more on the offensive, been more decisive and aggressive in his actions, and just got on top of that dude and kept doing work, I think that could have prevented him from taking off again on the second time.
19, 15, you got one running.
So this is one big reason why I talk about shoulder microphones being a necessity for public safety. This officer is having to take his radio completely off the belt, talk into it, and then put it back onto his pouch. That means that right now, his right hand that's holding the radio is occupied. And he appeared to be a right-hand person, which he draws and fires with his right hand. So in this instance, if this dude were to turn around with the gun and start shooting, he's going to have to do something with that radio. He's either going to have to take the time to put it in his hand, his left hand, and then draw the gun with his right hand, or he's going to have to drop that radio completely and go to his gun. And if the scenario then would have evolved to them going some distance away from where they're at, and he had dropped the radio, well then he's not going to be anywhere near his radio and not be able to communicate to anyone. It's raining outside, and if he had decided to drop the radio could have landed in a puddle of water. If they were closer to the street, it could have fallen down into a drainage hole and gone down into the sewer, and then you never would have been able to get it back without the help of a utility company coming out and opening up that storm drain. If he had to transition it to his left hand and then go to gun for his right hand, now he's going to only be able to shoot one-handed, and we know that with handguns right off the bat are already at a disadvantage because they are short-barreled and you only get 2 points of contact on them, and then when you fire one-handed, that's only 1 point of contact. So you're taking something that you're already at a disadvantage with, and you're making it even worse by holding it with one hand. So radios, in my opinion, must have a remote mic, shoulder mic, lapel mic, whatever you want to call it. It needs to have one of those microphones on there so that it can be clipped to the shirt, vest, whatever, and it allows you to reach up with one hand, press, talk, let go. And then when you let go, it's still there. This method of having a radio on the belt and taking it off and talking on it and putting it back is dumb. It's stupid. I wish that there would be a bigger push at a national level, I guess you could say, to make people go away from this practice. The trendsetters, whoever they are, I wish the trendsetters would adopt some type of mindset to purposely do things and talk about things to make other people think about it, because this is just it always ends disastrously, in my opinion, when it comes to these little walkie-talkies with no microphones on them. It's just an archaic, asinine way of doing things. Now, one of the things people talk about these remote mics, lapel mic, shoulder mic, whatever, is that they don't always stay clipped to the shirt. And that can be true because the little clips that are on them are pretty small and they can get knocked off a uniform shirt pretty easily. But there are solutions out there for that. There is a company called the Mic Loop, and for the agencies that have the more traditional uniform with the concealable vest, it's basically a piece of Velcro with a long loop of paracord on there. You can take that Velcro piece when you got your vest on, slap it under the Velcro strap of the vest, and then that paracord loop will come up, and it can actually come up and out of the uniform shirt in between the buttons. And you can take that cord and push your microphone head all the way through it, and it girth hitch it in, and then it's not going anywhere at all. Or there's a little method you can make a loop on the paracord and run the clip through it, and it's pretty bomb proof. Like, it doesn't really go anywhere. You can push on it, you can hit it, and it's just not going to go anywhere. So that's a product made by a company, and if you go and look at those products, see pictures of them, and if you got some sewing ability, you can make your own. All you have to do is get some paracord and some Velcro, and you could very easily make something like that on your own. I know that some people have tried hair ties and stuff like that. Hair ties obviously are not the best thing to use. They just break too easily. Paracord is something that I think would be the better use for that. And like I said, it's so easy to just go online, go to that company, the Mic Loop, and get one of their products and be worry free about your remote mic falling off during the middle of a fight. I'm going to skip the body cam footage because the body cam footage ends up becoming nothing because it does fall off. Now, that's one of the things that I just very much dislike about the magnetic mounts. They're just so easy for the body camera to get knocked off. I really don't like them at all. I don't really have anything nice to say about the magnetic body cam mounts, because I think they're just total garbage. The reason why agencies like them is because they can keep their traditional uniform look with their concealed vest under it and everything, and they got their metal badge and the metal name tag and some little pins and the whistle, the traditional uniform. They can take that and keep it without having to do a bunch of extra modifications to those uniform tops. Because when agencies buy a uniform top, it'll come from a vendor, and the most amount of modifications that a uniform top will have on it is it will have two little holes on the breast pocket area, above the breast pocket area, where the pin for a badge will go through. It's made to hold the badge there. And then the second most common modification of a uniform shirt that you would see that comes from a vendor would be the buttons on the shirt don't actually work. They're just there for looks, and instead behind it is a zipper so that the uniform top can be put on more easily, but it still looks like little buttons on front and looks more traditional looking. As far as having extra pieces of fabric on different points of the shirt to be able to clip a body camera to, there's no set in stone placement for body camera between agencies. Just like there's not a set in stone placement for, I guess you could say, taser. Now, granted, there's really only two different ways to carry taser. There's cross draw and then non-dominant straight draw. But when it comes to body cameras, you'll see these things. They'll be on a left breast pocket under the badge. They'll be on a right breast pocket. They'll be on the belt. They'll be top of the chest, sort of, in between the breast pockets. They may be a bit lower. They may be closer to the belt, but still on the shirt somewhere. And so because agencies, will put them in different little spots on their uniform, not all these uniform companies can put these little extra tabs of fabric on there to meet their needs. So to keep costs down, the agencies like these magnetic mounts. Otherwise, they're going to have to take their uniform shirts to the uniform shop or to a tailor and have a little tab of fabric sewn on so that they could put the camera on there. So the magnetic mount allows you to get these uniform shirts, just buy them straight from the vendor as they are. You put all your badges and all that little bull crap on there. And then the magnetic mount, you just put the base plate under the uniform shirt, and then the camera itself will magnetize through the shirt and stay in place. That way you're not having any holes in the shirt. There's not any extra pieces of fabric being sewn onto the shirt to be able to hold the camera or anything like that. And it helps agencies save money that way. Well, that may sound great, but from the reality standpoint, that kind of sucks. Like, the magnetic mounts, they're not known for holding the cameras on there very well. Now, there may be some out there who like it like that. Now, I say some because I haven't heard anybody talking about how they like how the cameras fall off. In fact, anyone I've ever heard talk about magnetic mounts, they always bitch about them because they fall off so easily. I've never heard anybody say they prefer their equipment to be set up like that. Now, I don't talk to all officers in this country, so I can't say that everyone's like that. There may be some out there who prefer the magnetic mounts because the cameras fall off so easily, and it's kind of like them not having to wear a body camera at that point. But everyone I've talked to, they just bitch about them because they're pieces of shit and the cameras fall off too easily. This doorbell camera, house camera, whatever it is, it's got some pretty decent video and actually pretty good quality to be able to pick up conversation all the way over there. I was kind of impressed by that. We'll get out of that footage. Going forward. All right, so now the cell phone footage.
1950, service more cars. Okay.
Now he said he's good, but man, yo, what's up, man?
So he's got him in a rear double arm hook here. From this point right here, obviously this guy, he was able to, while on the ground with this officer on top of him, stand up and then start moving. So he does seem to have some pretty good strength to him, but he's got him in a rear double arm hook right here. Pretty much all he needs to do is take one foot, plant it in between his legs right there, and then rock backwards, and then take this guy down, put him butt on the ground, and could hold him there like that until backup arrives. So, there's some other physical things that could be done. You could have done a leg sweep, stuff like that. It's kind of really hard to get into the details of different moves and stuff like that because not everyone understands, leg sweeps and stuff like that. So it's really hard to do a breakdown from hand to hand kind of stuff. But there are some other things physically that he could be doing. And one thing that I think would be a very viable move, and I've used this move a lot in the past, but people have seemed to have just lost their freaking minds over it here in the last few years. But I've been a big fan of chokeholds. I believe bilateral vascular restraint is probably the better scientific terminology for it. But I have in the past choked a fuck ton of people out before. It's very simple and effective move. Like, it doesn't require days of training on it. I mean, a chokehold is pretty damn basic. Like, you could teach a monkey how to do a chokehold. Now, obviously, if you hold the choke for too long after they've stopped moving and you continue to hold that, that's a problem. But anytime I've ever put somebody in a chokehold, I've applied the hold, and of course they start. They've been resisting and fighting to begin with. Get them in the hold, and once they stop moving around, that's when to let go, and then take control over their limbs, and they wake back up. It's a very, very effective technique. The problem that has arisen over the years is sometimes the hold is not done properly, and the person has gotten their forearm, their the the radial bone. The radial bone will press up into the windpipe, the trachea, and it can cause damage that way. So the idea is to put the Adam's apple, so to speak, right there in the bend of your arm, right above your elbow area. So like where your arm bends at, that joint right there, that throat goes right there. The middle of the throat goes right there, and then so your bicep and forearm will be to the left and right of that person's neck. And when you just curl inwards, those muscles will press into that person's neck, and they go to sleep. They go to sleep real quick. And I've used that multiple times. No one's ever died on me before using that. But like I said, sometimes in some instances across the nation where people went to go do this technique, they got it wrong, and the forearm was used instead of the proper placement, and that's where the injuries and or death had come from. Most of those deaths, I think, in my opinion, if, let's say, like taser and stuff would have been used in those instances way back in the day, they probably still would have died, because I think that probably a lot of those instances had stuff to do with excited delirium and or people being just all pumped up on drugs. There's a lot of controversy over chokeholds, but like I said, I've used them multiple times. It's kind of one of my little favorite go-to moves, because fuck rolling around on the ground fighting. That shit gets old. It gets tiring. I ain't got time for that. Put them in a hold, squeeze, they go to sleep, and get to it. But anyway, there's some more physical stuff that could be said and be done about this. There is a couple of places that I can. What was those? One is Gracie Institute. I do believe that they do some breakdowns and stuff on some videos like this, and they talk about different mounts and stuff like that. And so if you do practice hand-to-hand stuff and you're into the BJJ, then I would assume that you probably already know about Gracie Institute and their videos they put out. But if not, then go check them out. They do have some pretty good reviews and stuff like that on there. And yet I would surmise that you could probably find some other BJJ groups somewhere online that do breakdowns on videos like this, and they talk about, more of the physical stuff that could be done.
Stop!
Okay.
Stop resisting!
No, you good. You're not resisting nothing, bro.
So the cameraman sucks at his job.
Okay, why you gotta do all that, bro?
Wasn't capturing everything. But we hear that pop. That's the taser deploying. And, of course, he does not get proper probe placement on the guy, because he had reached out and grabbed the taser, and it fired, and no probes went into him.
Bro, he good,
But
man.
he gets hold of his taser, and he's holding on to it. So this taser right here is a Taser 7, and it is capable of firing 2 times. So he's already fired once. So that means 1 cartridge has fired, but there's another cartridge inside the gun that is capable of firing another set of probes. And the problem with this, and this guy having a hold of the taser trying to take it away from him, is if that guy gets that taser away from this officer and shoots this officer with his own taser, he can cause the officer to undergo NMI, neuromuscular incapacitation, cause his body to lock up, and he's unable to control his limbs, and then that dude could do whatever he wants to him. And that's a scary thing. You can't just assume that once this guy uses his taser on the officer, that all he's going to do is just drop the taser and take off running and buy him some time. You have to assume that he has the worst intentions possible. He's going to, A, take that officer's gun off his belt while he's riding the lightning and then shoot him in the face with it, or he's just simply going to take his feet and hands or pick up a rock or something like that from there and just continuously hit him in the face and head. Or pull out a knife and start stabbing him, whatever. You have to assume that he means the worst intentions whatsoever. And with the taser being turned against you and you being shot with it, you're powerless at that point. Like, you can't do a damn thing if you're riding the lightning. Your limbs will lock up. And for people who've never gone through taser training before or have been hit with a taser, it can be kind of hard to explain to people the effects of a taser ride. So, of course, there's plenty of videos out there you can go look at. You see some people, they lock up stiff as a board, and that is your classic NMI, neuromuscular incapacitation. That's what you look for a taser deployment. So sometimes things like that happen, and then sometimes you see people get tased and they're still able to move around, and that's because the taser probes have not made proper contact with the skin. They're not far apart, whatever, and there's not enough NMI, or it's not enough to be able to achieve NMI. But the videos where you see people locking up as stiff as a board, that is what can happen, and that's what you want to happen when you deploy a taser. And that's, like I said, that's called NMI, neuromuscular incapacitation. You have absolutely no control over your limbs whatsoever at that point. And if you're under NMI like that and someone goes to reach for your gun, you can't stop them. If you're locked up stiff as a board, you can look. Like, here, the thing about tasers, you can still look, hear, smell. You can feel to some extent. I mean, you feel more of the pulses rate going through your body, but you can still look around. You can still hear stuff. Some people are able to talk during a taser ride. Other people are not. Some people sound like Chewbacca. You can, as they're doing this grunting noise, and you can hear the pulse rate through their voice, as they're growling. They sound like a, oh. So, but you can certainly look, and, let's say the scenario, this dude did pop this officer with the taser. The officer would be laying there, powerless, unable to do anything because he can't move his arms to stop what this guy's doing, but would be able to watch him stand over him, pull his gun out of the holster and point it at him and kill him. So he'd be able to watch all that, but wouldn't be able to do anything about it. So although the taser is a less than lethal tool, in this instance where he's now got a hold of it and is trying to take it from the officer, if he were to successfully deploy it on that officer and use it, it could lead to the officer's death. And so this is why within taser training, it is taught that if someone's got your taser and they're going to be using it against you, that is a justifiable use of deadly physical force. The same as with pepper spray. If someone's got your pepper spray away from you and they're starting to try to spray at you, that is then an instance of justifiable use of deadly physical force, because once you get sprayed in the face with pepper spray, you have involuntary eye closure, and you're not able to see shit. It takes the fight out of you. Well, it doesn't take. Well, it can take the fight out of you, but it makes you very limited in how you can fight effectively. So even if you still got the mindset to fight, it's very hard to do that when your eyes are slammed shut because they feel like they're on fire. Same with a baton. So. And this depends on the states as well. Here in Kentucky, a baton is actually listed as a deadly physical weapon, but other states it may not be. But even a baton for use of force applications is generally regarded as a less than lethal tool. So even if someone has gotten a baton away from you, even in those instances, it is a justifiable use of deadly physical force to prevent that person from using it against you. So when he ends up drawing his gun and firing, that's why he ends up firing, is because this guy has got a hold of his taser and he's losing control over it. And if this guy gets full control over it and uses it against the officer and is successful with a probe deployment, then the officer is going to be powerless to prevent that guy from doing anything else to him. And although this dude may not have had any intentions of doing anything to the officer, there's no way to know that. No way whatsoever to ever know that. And you can never expect anyone to make that their first assumption. Their first assumption has to be, this dude intends to kill me.
Let go of the taser. Let go of the taser.
No, like he good. Like you can talk to him, bro. Yeah. Like he good, bro. Like can you talk to him like good? Like can you? Yeah. Stop grabbing him like that.
No.
Nah, he good like for real. Yo, you hit him too. Get that shit, bro.
Let go of the taser.
Nah, he ain't got no taser. I see that.
So the cameraman, just like all these other oxygen thieves, is providing his commentary and talking about things that's going on. But it's obviously all wrong. We see the guy holding the officer's taser, trying to take it away from him, but you get this guy on the camera saying, "Oh, he don't have a taser." Yeah, he does.
Go taser.
How many cars you got going?
All right, so now this officer has made the decision to go to deadly physical force. This guy is just overpowering him. It appears as though he's stronger than the officer. So he is able to overpower the officer. It looks like he's completely gotten the taser all the way away from the officer. Now the officer has decided to go to the deadly physical force. He draws his gun, and the only available place for him to shoot is this guy's back. And then he ends up firing one round into this guy's back. One round is all he needed to fire, or at least that's all he perceived that he needed to fire. If he had fired more than once, would not have a problem with that. People seem to have this mindset that shooting people in the back is wrong. They think it's as wrong as like the worst one of the worst things you could do to a person. It seems like the way I hear people talk about it. I personally see no reason to think like that. I see absolutely nothing wrong with it at all. If he had decided to let this guy roll over so that he could shoot him in the chest, well, then that would then present this dude the ability to point the taser at the officer and then shoot the officer with his own taser. Or ram the taser into the officer's face and cycle the taser and fire probes into his face, put a probe in his eyeball, the laser beams being shot into his eyeball and causing temporary blindness, involuntary eye closure, and limiting his fighting ability. So why should he allow the guy to roll over onto his back and get a better fighting chance to take this officer down? That makes totally no sense to me whatsoever. So this is a perfectly acceptable shooting, in my opinion. See nothing wrong with it whatsoever. There's nothing that says that you have to, quote unquote, fight fair. Like, as I said, like, why give him the opportunity to roll over into his back so that he can fight you harder and easier? Like, screw that.
Drop taser.
Everyone.
So no idea where that bullet went. He dropped pretty instantaneously. So it's possible that that bullet hit his spine and has paralyzed him in this moment. If he had fired to the right and it went into his thoracic cavity, into the side of the chest, he could still continue fighting and whatnot. This seems like, dropping a sack of rocks at this point. So I think that the bullet probably hit his spine. I have no way of knowing that for sure. I have not seen any documentation out there detailing his injuries or anything like that. But just based off how hard he drops, how fast he drops, and he doesn't really move any after that, I think he hit him in the spine. And that's another advantage to shooting a person in the back. You got the spine closer to you, so if you can hit that spine, boom! I mean, they're dropping. Depending on where in the spine you hit them. You can hit them low in the spine, and that could affect only that spot and below in their legs, and their upper torso still be able to fight. But if you hit them high enough up into the upper spine area, like, they could be done with. Like, they're not going to do much of anything else because they can't. They can't have the brain signals down to the rest of the body to make the rest of the body work. That connection has been severed. So that's one of the pros to shooting into a target's back, is their spine is closer to you. Even with shooting people from the front, that is still one possible thing that could be hit during a gunfight, and which is why it's not just center mass, but firing midline is talked about and is taught. Like, you want to go midline on a person and try to put all those rounds in midline, so that number one, they're perforating the heart, and then B, if they're going further past enough the heart, they can reach the spine. If they reach that spine and make that that connection break, then all the better.
Get back! Get back!
So obviously, he's right up on top of that guy. He can see better what's going on. It may have been his judgment call right then and there to say, hey, there's no need to cuff this guy. He is done. He's out of the fight. From this camera angle, we can't tell that for sure. And based off that, not being able to tell for sure, that's why I'm bringing this up. Anytime anyone has caused you to have to use deadly physical force, I think that cuffing them is the most appropriate action to take. If you have felt the need to use deadly physical force, then obviously that means that person was committing some type of legally some type of felony against you, whether they were trying to murder you, kidnap you, rape you. One of those, that means that you feared for your life, and from a criminal standpoint, if they're going to be charged, they're going to be charged with obviously a felony. So they've committed a crime of some sort. So aside from that legality of it, if they were to ever be able to get back up and continue fighting, it's a whole lot harder for them to continue fighting you when their hands are cuffed behind their back. And sometimes people have been shot and they went unconscious temporarily, and they were able to get back up and continue the fight. Famous case out of Florida back in the 1980s between the FBI and a couple of bank robbers. FBI got into a shootout with them. The two bank robbers were shot multiple times during this gunfight. During the beginning stages of this gunfight, the driver was shot in the head, and it only temporarily knocked him out during that gunfight. He was able to wake back up during the middle of this gunfight, climb out of his car, and then go climb into the car of an FBI agent and try to steal it. His partner was shot multiple times. He took a round through the side of his chest. It landed into his heart area. It did not immediately incapacitate him, but it was a lethal hit, and he was going to eventually die from that round. It's just that that was not one of the rounds that he ended up dying from. He went on to continue to fight. He got shot multiple times with a pistol and a shotgun, and continued to fight and went on to kill 2 FBI agents and seriously wound a few others. Before Ed Morales finally got him and his partner down with some hits from a revolver. And even then, after Ed shot them, they were still alive inside the car. And they didn't end up dying until a few minutes later from those. But they were good enough hits to incapacitate them. So, long story short, the reason for cuffing people after they've been shot is because sometimes their asses get back up. And if they're going to get back up and continue fighting, it's going to be a whole lot harder for them to fight with their hands cuffed behind their back versus hands cuffed to the front or hands not cuffed at all. And if you don't think that's true, then I would invite you to a pillow fight. Let me cuff your hands behind your back, give you a pillow, and then I won't have my hands cuffed at all, and I'll have a pillow, and we'll see who can knock the shit out of each other with a pillow. I guarantee you, your ass is going to the ground during this pillow fight. So, from the tactical standpoint, that's a good reason to cuff, and also from the legality standpoint, that's another reason to cuff. Like, they need to be arrested at this point for trying to kill you. So, it just obviously makes sense to go ahead and cuff them.
1915, I was just involved in shooting Elsie Griggs.
So he is smoked, and that happens even for something that does not last this long. You can get smoked pretty easily or gassed pretty easily during a struggle. It can really, really take the wind out of you. Going to press the arrow key. So this is one of the other things that came from the agency in their Dropbox. Just kind of have like a little information thing on there, and then, well, okay, so that seems to be the only thing that comes with it. So there was another tab under their Dropbox that had all of the videos in there, I guess, mostly in their entirety that you got to see within this video clip. So things that were, able to run a little bit longer. For example, the dash cam footage. I think that other Dropbox file had the full recording of the dash cam. Obviously, they didn't want to throw it into this presentation video because why would you show so much out of the body cam footage, or I'm sorry, the dash cam footage, when it doesn't show anything at all? So I'll leave it at this one here. I won't go into those videos. I will try to remember to copy down the link to that Dropbox and add it into the information section for the video. That way you can go in there and look at those things in their entirety as well. So that's pretty much it. I don't really have much of anything else to talk about. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share if you have not already. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.